Hey, it's day 2 of this rebuild. We left off on the upper intake, ran out of light last night. You'll see that in my previous video. I'll try and link that somewhere. We're going to go ahead and continue on forward with that. I'm going to set it right back up, get to the components, and go forward from there. There's still quite a bit of stuff to get through. Let me get the camera set up. Okay, you're set up right underneath the upper and lower intake. And what we need to do is take this and get it onto the 2 bolts that are designated to hold this up. So underneath here, once we bring this back up, this bolt and this bolt are going to be what holds this up. The middle one is going to be used for a ground strip. It'll slide right on here. And when these studs came off, they actually had these extra nuts. Okay, we're snug. While we're here, I'm gonna go ahead and tackle a nightmare. Need to get the EGR tube nut back on here and tightened up to the EGR. And I'm really worried about that one because it's bent just enough to make this a nightmare. Let's try and get that reconnected. Bend it back just enough to catch a thread, and we got it. I got to pull a little bit of slack, and then I'm gonna tighten this up as best I can. I'm gonna do the AC lines. That's about as tight as I want to take it. EGR tube is reconnected. Let's get the throttle body back on. Let's figure out what vacuum lines. This should go onto the valve cover. Now we can tighten some stuff down. Nope. Okay, that was a nightmare. Vacuum line's hooked up, that's on. Oh. So we got 3 connections over here. While we're here, let's put the bracket on right here. I don't remember how this went on. If it went on this way. Okay, that's snugged in. Okay, off camera, I kind of cleaned up the throttle body a little bit. Of course. New gasket. Okay, so we got the top 2 in. Let's work those bottom 2 in. Okay, a big whopping 14 foot-pounds per bolt. With that being ready, let's figure out what sensors go where. 2, and this goes up to the EGR. That's the unused thing, right? Seems like it. No! Does that go here? Son of a gun. The throttle body's got to do this. Damn it. I may have to take this whole thing back off. Well, pay attention. You don't want to end up like me. Lesson learned. Install the shield before you try to put this on. I don't know if it's going to matter or not, but I got 2 of them. For just such an occurrence of me screwing up. Okay. Now the throttle body's on and connected. We'll put the throttle cable back on. All right. While I'm here, connect all my spark plug wires. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ouch. That's the spark plug wires. So what's next? Brake booster. We just need to move that clamp down. I'm gonna have to fix up my battery cables because they're all wabber jonky now. I think it's time to put the alternator bracket back on. Just gonna mark these as they go, I guess. Okay, so the top bolt will match up with the stud from the exhaust manifold in this lug. That's why you only get a nut. That's the stud that we put in for the exhaust manifold, and I just marked the bolts as they came out, 1 to 1. That way these will bolt into the block. Should be 3 of them underneath on the smog pump. All right, looking up at this bracket, we're just trying, this is where the smog pump, or whatever they call that thing, is gonna go. Okay, so this bracket is on. Bracket on, put these bolts in, good enough. All right, we're gonna try to get the smog pump in. I removed this bolt here, it's gonna go on the top of it. There's a bottom one I need to loosen. So we got these two. See if I can slide this in here. Oh, you know what, before I do that, okay. Pull this off, let's slide it in here. The top bolt in, which means I should be able to slide that back one in. So underneath we got one that is secure in. Okay, that's the smog pump. I'll hold off on putting this up top. Everything loose we need to attach to the fender wheel. While we're up here, there's actually these two that hook up to the throttle body. So let's try the alternator. Nope. First let's put the pulley on, or we got clean access. Okay, we're gonna try and put the alternator on. It barely fits in there. Alright, time to take a break. Alright, I figured out what I messed up on. When I took this off originally, what just messed me up was I wrote top and bottom on the wrong sides. So this is actually fairly simple. There's a tab on the alternator that bolts in up here, and then the feed through is on the bottom, and it just goes straight in. Now we just tighten up, which means we can put this bracket back up top here. Okay, hook this hose back up. Tighten this hose clamp back up. This all attaches to that tube that the bracket mounts to the upper intake studs. And then there is on the back side of it, vacuum line. I marked it to connect it. It's a good connection, good connection. What's next? Let's hook up. That's to the map. Let's get the map put back on too. Back here, map sensor. We did this so we could get to the fuel lines. Let me put this back in because it's got a vacuum hose. It's going to connect to right here. That's the map sensor. What I need to track back right now is what this vacuum line goes to. Did it right there? Yeah. We now have the vacuum tree fully restored. New power steering pump. New to us power steering pump. Okay, we got the high pressure line, the lower. Put our new pulley back on. So it says you don't need the housing to do the reinstall. I wish I'd have read that. So you don't need this to put it back on. You just start threading it in. I'm just going to do this until it's fully seated. I'm going to be honest, I can't tell if this is too tight, not tight enough, but I'm getting to be real close on the back, so I'm calling that good. I guess that's it. I don't have much faith in that power steering pump, fellas. This thing is a nightmare. This side of the truck should be done. Let's do the thermostat housing now. That I'm going to be honest, I completely forgot about. The bottom bolt started. I gotta move the camera, I'm sorry. Okay, 16 foot-pounds to torque these down. Okay, we have thermostat housing set up and that little piece. Oh no. What else can go wrong? I didn't even see the sensor. Thermostat's now installed, reinstalled. That'll probably be a problem later. What's left? Let's get the fender well back in. So looking down at this big jumble, I need to get the coffee can that's inside hooked up, and I need to get this hooked up. And in order to do that, we're gonna have to come from in here and put the fender well back in. Now what I remember how I did it last time, I did it off camera and I had to take the tire off. So do I gotta do that again this time? Plastic goes inside. Kind of slapped it right back into place, which means we got to figure out what goes where. This looks like it goes right here. Yeah, so that goes right there. So with the coffee can, we need to get this, needs to hook to the front. We got enough room. Let's learn from previous mistakes and make sure we know. Nope, look at that. We don't want anything tangled up. Okay, and the coffee can needs to, so here's the vacuum lines for it. So I'd assume it was right here. And by doing that, that reaches perfect to right there. And I marked XX and X, and that's XX and X. So let's go ahead and get that on there. Perfect. Oh shit, that doesn't sound good. Let's tighten these up. All we're gonna do is underneath there's these nuts and they come right through the fender well. So I'm gonna get this and this hooked up real quick. The view from underneath isn't much better, but you can see the studs came through right here. This is where the I call it the coffee can was at. I just kind of finger tightened them, and then up here was part of that smog thing. So all we did was tighten it up. I haven't tightened up anything in the fender well yet. It's just going to be a screw with the washer. I'm gonna have to figure out something up here because I had to cut that out, and the rest is just going to run along your fender well. I think there's like 5 different bolts that you'll just screw in through. I don't really want to do that just yet because there's no telling what we're going to have to take apart. The good is I think I'm buttoned up. The bad is I need to let the thermostat housing cure before I can start running any water through it. So I'm going to let that cure overnight. That's a good stopping spot right now. I'm going to call this a good stopping point. I wanted to get a little bit more done. I wanted to have it completely done, but it's a lot of work. So we got all the vacuum lines hooked back up. Fender well basically reinstalled, dry fit for right now. Power steering pump is back on. Alternator, smog pump, whatever you call it's on. Thermostat housing's on. All hoses, everything's hooked back up. Let this dry overnight, and tomorrow I'll put some coolant and put the fan shroud back on and change the oil. Hope I can splice all this into one long video. Check my description below for 3 great channels, 3 great guys. If you enjoyed anything I'm doing, you'll really like what they're doing. Today kicked my butt again. I'm getting real tired of this truck. So if you stuck with me to the end, I appreciate it. And as always, I'll catch y'all next time. Bye-bye.